Hello everyone, Dan Ziccardi here. I'm the owner of Moxie Total Health Results here in Niagara Falls. For those who don't know who I am. It's another video that I'm going to be posting. Week to week I'm going to be posting new videos on healthy topics that I either study about or know about or find interesting that I want to share with everybody to help all of you kind of achieve any goals that you're looking to achieve. So today's video is it's actually just based on carbohydrates. I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should be eating carbohydrates. It's one of those things that I swear by when I'm creating nutritional plans for anybody or any of my clients for that matter. The reason for this is there's a few reasons. I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 mainly. What I want to do is just kind of cover the importance of carbohydrates in general. Now, I wouldn't be recommending anything if I haven't tried it myself, so I just want you guys to know that everything I'm talking about today is stuff that I've gone through personally or experienced myself or studied and found the reasons why we should be having them. So I've gone through carb-free diets myself. Atkins diet, totally carb-free diets where you're ingesting literally next to no carbohydrates daily. And I did this for my very first bodybuilding show that I did. And I kind of found out the hard way, but I guess the good way. You know, you learn from your mistakes, and I had to try it out to see what it's about. And society has kind of given us a bad, or given carbohydrates a bad rap for that matter. It's just one of those things that, you know, people think, you know, carbs are no good. Eating carbs past 7 is no good. And, you know, there's all these things that are bad against carbohydrates, but nobody seems to talk too much about the importance of carbohydrates in the body and how it not only helps you achieve your physical goals, but also helps you achieve a lot of health goals as well. Even if you don't have health goals, it never hurts to live a longer life. So it's one of those things that you should kind of make sure that you keep in your diet. So the very first thing I kind of want to cover is basically helping the brain function. This is one of the main things that carbohydrates helps the most. So it's one of those things where your brain kind of needs carbohydrates to function properly, and the brain runs on glucose. So if there's no glucose, which is you know, carbohydrates in the body, then thinking, you know, remembering stuff and actually learning stuff becomes hard to do. You know, you can't actually function and think properly when the brain literally runs on carbohydrates as its #1 source. So you got to understand that to begin with. The second thing is just a lot of women actually find this, but bloating is a huge factor. You know, 95% of the people I've always trained are women, so I've really grown to know the female body and how it kind of reacts when it comes to different times of the month, when it comes to hormone levels, stress levels, sleep levels. There's so much different stuff you have to take into consideration, and bloating is a huge deal. It's one of those things where, you know, good carbohydrates are complex carbohydrates. They actually contain a lot of fiber. And fiber is one of those things that's pretty much going to keep your bowel movements regular and your body actually able to break down waste a lot easier and get rid of it on a regular, consistent basis. So the more you do this, the less bloating you're going to have. So complex carbohydrates are not only good for energy for your brain, but is also good for actually preventing a lot of bloating in the system. So that's another thing you have to make sure you keep in mind. Is just, you know, also when you're eating your carbohydrates, when you look at the nutritional info of anything, just try and make sure that the fiber intake is pretty decent as well. So, you know, a few grams of fiber, it goes a long way when it's on a consistent basis and with actually, you know, maintaining good bowel movements and staying regular and preventing a lot of bloating in the process. So that's one of the second things I wanted to talk about. The next one was actually improving mood. I went through this actually when I did my carb-free diet, when I did my first bodybuilding show. Is just, you know, mood is a huge thing, especially when you're trying to train regularly. You're trying to actually maintain a good physique and a good positive mind over everything. And when you have a hard time thinking and learning and you feel foggy all the time, it's you know, it's one of those things that makes it really hard to obviously, you know, improve your mood. So you got to understand that also, you know, carbohydrates contain tryptophan. So tryptophan is basically, it produces serotonin in the brain, and serotonin is a hormone that actually helps prevent depression and sleep problems. So it's that feel-good feeling that you get from serotonin. So the less carbohydrates you intake, the less serotonin you're most likely to have, and the worse your mood becomes. So another thing, like I said, is the sleep patterns, and a lot of people don't realize this, but I tell every client that I always train that you have to make sure that your sleeping is just as important as your eating and your training. Small little things like fiber, water, sleeping, these are things that people actually skip over because they get so caught up in the working out and you know, the eating right, which is 80% of what you're going to get out of this. But the small little things on a consistent basis add up, like I'm always telling you. So it's one of those things where you got to make sure that you know, you're always doing, your sleep patterns have to be perfect. You're getting at least 7 to 8 hours a night. If you have trouble sleeping, or you have bad sleeping patterns, or you need to get back on a regular cycle, there's a few supplements you can take that I've come across that I've used. Melatonin is one of them. You can help read up on it, and you know, you'll learn a couple of things about it. And pretty much what it does is it helps replenish that sleeping cycle. So if you have a bad cycle and you go to sleep at different times and you don't have a regular sleep cycle, it's one of those things that can help for a bit, and it's natural. So it's the other natural supplement that I've used to help me is kava. It's spelled Kava, and basically what it is, it's a plant. It's a pepper plant that comes from South Africa, and I've read a lot of studies on it, and I've seen a lot of testimonials on it, and it does wonders. A lot of people have come off prescription drugs using something like kava. That's all natural, totally natural. It's not like when you go to the doctor and he prescribes you sleeping pills to go to sleep. That's something you want to stay away from because you don't want the body to adapt to any prescriptions. It's one of those things that's, you know, helps you at the beginning but kind of kills you in the long run. So the more you can stay away from any prescription drugs, the better. And using natural stuff like kava has helped me improve my REM sleep. So melatonin helps with the cycles, and kava helps get you into REM sleep quicker. REM sleep is basically when, after a few hours of sleeping, the body's calmed down, you go into a natural deep sleep. That deep sleep is where the body recuperates the most. And one of the main things I tell all my clients too is that you don't actually get the results from the working out. You get the results from the sleeping. The body works that way in general, and people forget about that, that you know, you train, you break the body down, and then you go to sleep and you build the body up. So it recuperates and replenishes and does everything it needs to do to get you to your goals for the next day, the night before when you're sleeping. So these things are important. If you're not sleeping right, I've seen it actually prevent people's weigh-ins every week. It's stress and sleep. It's something that your body doesn't need. It's like cancer. If you can't do it, over time, it adds up, and it adds up, and you'll see a lot of deterioration when it comes to not only your body, but your actual, you know, your health and your, you know, your goals. So sleeping is very important that way. So, you know, carbohydrates also help assist with this. Now, energy levels. Like I said, I experienced this huge when I did it too, and, you know, my energy was shot. I had no energy throughout the day. Training became way harder. Cardio endurance exercises seem way harder. You don't have the energy to do it, or you at least just don't want to do it. And the fact that you're not producing the proper serotonin levels doesn't help with that at all. So it's not only do you, you know, not only is your mood shot, but your actual training kind of, it affects that as well, right? So you got to understand that your number one source of energy comes from complex carbohydrates. The body uses this for energy, and it's its number one source. So if you're cutting these out of the diet, pretty much what it does is the body kind of resorts to secondary things in the body. So protein is one of these. It's going to start to use protein in the body for energy, and that's the last thing you want. When I'm training people for their programs and designing programs for my sessions, pretty much what I'm doing is making sure that no matter what, you're actually building lean muscle mass, and this takes a long time to do. The more you build in the long term, the better. This is what changes your body physically. It's not just burning calories and reducing fat percentage, but you also have to make sure lean tissue is built on the body to help increase your metabolism long term. So this is one of those things where if you make sure that your carb intake is regular and proper, your energy levels will be a lot better, and your body won't actually resort to protein, which is muscle tissue, for energy. So you're not kind of working hard to put this muscle mass on and to increase your metabolism and maintain a fit physique as opposed to just a skinny physique. And then later on, through taking out your carbohydrates, your body starts breaking itself down again, which is pretty much getting rid of all that hard work you worked for to increase your lean muscle mass. So that's one of the other main things I wanted to talk about. Pretty much it's, you just got to remember, I guess a small thing that I kind of learned and read about is just you got to think of a car and gasoline, it's carbohydrates are the gasoline for this vehicle. And if you try and run a vehicle and you don't have the proper gasoline to do it, obviously it's not going to run properly. And you have to think this way when it comes to, actually ingesting carbohydrates in the diet, because carbs are not bad. When you eat them throughout the day, it can make a huge effect on your results. So when I'm customizing nutrition, this is why I customize it, because if you don't take the time to spend it with somebody so they learn what they're doing and why they should be eating the carbs and what times of the day they should be having the carbs, then it's hard to actually, not only understand, but you need that understanding to know why you're doing it. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Now, the other main thing I kind of wanted to talk about was just vitamins and, the vitamins that you get from carbohydrates, and making sure that you're not only, achieving physical goals, but you're actually achieving mental and health goals at the same time. It's one of those things you got to make sure that proper grains contain vitamin B, and pretty much what this helps the body do is turn food into energy, and it also helps with red blood cells. So you increase your red blood cells or create more red blood cells at the same time, which are all proper things for a healthy physique and to also achieve physical goals at the same time. So pretty sure it's one of those main things as well that helps lower cholesterol. So you got to understand too that proper carbohydrates at the right times, or just complex carbohydrates instead of simple ones, will actually help reduce the